Low back pain, an all too common 21st century malady that we want to help you get fixed. So what we're going to do is we're going to take you through some stretches and some activation exercises to help you correct that chronic low back pain. And the first thing we have to do is a litmus test. So we're going to do what's called an isometric Romanian deadlift. You literally just lean over. The setup for this is pretty easy. Just make sure that your knee is over your ankle, stick your bottom back, and then basically act like you're headbutting a wall in front of you. The idea is to not feel this in your lower back. If you're squeezing your glutes and you're keeping your upper back and your abs engaged, you should be okay, but you may not have control of those muscles yet, and we're gonna help you fix it. Now, if you bend your knees too much or you lock out your knees, that's no good. Like I said, just knees directly over the ankle. Go ahead and pause the video, do your Romanian deadlift real fast. I'm assuming that if you are watching this video, it's because you felt low back pain as you're doing that Romanian deadlift. So let's go ahead and start fixing it. This first stretch we're gonna do is called a prayer stretch. At our gym, we call it karate chop on the floor because I didn't know the name and we made one up and it stuck. So if you hear me refer to it either or, it's the same thing. You're gonna reach across your body, grab this imaginary peg that's in the floor, and then lean back. Be careful that you don't start with your hips on your heels. You want to make sure that your hips are over your knees first and then push your hips back, and that's going to help you get a good stretch right there across your lats. So I want you guys to hold this prayer stretch for 2 minutes on each side, especially if you feel a good stretch as you start getting into it. You want to make sure that you give your body time to make these adaptations. So if you're on a time crunch, you don't have a whole bunch of time, then just do a minute on each side. But if you do, spend 2 minutes here. Let's go ahead and pause the video, get 2 minutes on each side, have at it. Let's go ahead and move down our back, and we're gonna get a QL smash. That stands for quadratus lumborum. Don't need to know that name. You're gonna grab a couple of lacrosse balls, golf balls, softballs, baseballs, whatever you have laying around. You're gonna put them right there on those two muscular columns on either side of your spine in your lower back. You're gonna put those right there, and then you're just gonna basically do these marches. Now, I'm gonna raise my hips up to get a little bit more pressure on there. If you have a really tender back, you may not need to raise those hips up, and that's okay. You can also do this if you only have one lacrosse ball, one softball, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure that your hips don't drop as you're doing that. You wanna make sure that your hips stay nice and neutral as you're doing these marches. I want you guys to go ahead and accumulate 2 minutes on each side. Go ahead and pause the video, get your smash in there. This next one is one of my most favorite stretches because it's so effective and so applicable for basically every 21st century dweller. It's called the Samson Stretch. Get that toe down on the back foot, put that knee on the ground. You want to start with your shoulders, hips, and knees in one line. You're going to squeeze the butt cheek on the back leg, try to push that front knee as far forward as you can, and then try to push your chest backwards at the same time. I want you guys to go ahead and do 2 minutes on each side. Go ahead and pause the video, get your Samson stretch in there. Next up to bat is the quad smash. Now, you can do this with a foam roller like I'm showing you, or you can do it with a lacrosse ball or a softball or baseball or anything that you have handy. And you're literally just gonna roll across the top part of your leg. If you wanna make it a little bit more interesting, you can bend your knee as you're doing that roll, and that's just gonna really help work out some of those naughty places. So you can also do this on one leg if you wanna make it a little bit more interesting. At any rate, gang, we're trying to loosen up these quads because we need them to be strong, but we need our hamstrings and our glutes and everything else in our lower body to help contribute to our lower body strength. And if our quads are doing all the work for us, it's just gonna end up in knee pain, low back pain, all the above. So we gotta smash these out, and I want you to get pretty aggressive with these. I want you guys to spend at least 2 minutes on each quad. If this is really tender and really tough, that's a great indicator that these muscles are doing a lot more work than they need to be. So go ahead and pause the video, 2 minutes on each leg. All right, we've stretched out a lot of the main culprits when it comes to low back pain. Now let's go ahead and start waking up the muscles that ought to be contributing more to help keep our low back out of that pain zone. We're gonna start off with some glute bridges. Easy breezy stuff, guys. Dig your heels into the floor, squeeze your butt cheeks as hard as you can, raise those hips up to the ceiling. If you think you're squeezing your glutes hard enough, you're wrong. Get that rear in gear, and I mean squeeze those butt cheeks like you were trying to hold in a fart on a first date. Now, if you want to make this a little bit more challenging, go ahead and squeeze those glutes, get those hips up as high as you can, and then go ahead and pick a leg up, put it back down, pick a leg up, put it back down. The whole object here is to not let your hips drop or shift as you switch from leg to leg. So I want you guys to go ahead and spend 2 minutes doing these glute bridges. If you're having a rough time getting your glutes to stay engaged, just hang out with the glute bridge, don't bother with the march. If you can feel your glutes as you're doing the regular glute bridge, then kick it up a notch and let's make sure that we're really getting these muscles fired up and taxed. If you want to add a little bit extra, you can push those elbows in the ground to wake up some upper back muscles. Go ahead and pause the video. Let's go and do 2 minutes on your glute bridge. Go. This next activation exercise is more practical in that it's going to help you learn how to activate those glutes during something normal like standing around. So these are called standing kickbacks. You literally just stand on one leg and then kick that other leg back. And as you kick that leg back, your leg will rotate a little bit. That's okay. Make sure that you feel that in the butt cheek of the leg that you're kicking backwards. I want you guys to go ahead and do this for 1 to 2 minutes on each side. Pause the video. All right, so we've gone through our stretches, we've gone through our activation exercises, and now we want to integrate all of this into some bigger movements. And we're gonna do something simple like a side plank and a plank. Now, the whole idea here is to get your abs and your glutes to work together to help stabilize your midline or your core. So I want you guys to go ahead and do 2 minutes on each side of these side planks. If you can't do them on your toes, no big deal. Go on your knees. The other thing I want you to pay attention to as you're doing these side planks is make sure that your shoulders are over your elbows or over your hand if you're doing it on your hand, and make sure you're in one straight line. This is going to help make sure everything is where it needs to be and our posture's in a good place. So go ahead and pause the video, 2 minutes on each side. Go! Our last integration exercise is the tried and true plank. I want you guys to squeeze your butt cheeks, get those abs tight, and then bring those knees up off the ground. Remember, the whole point here is to try to get your glutes and your abs to work together to help prevent our lower back from having any pain by doing normal stuff, you know, about leaning over, picking up laundry, playing with the kids, whatever. So I want you guys to hold this plank position for 2 to 3 minutes. You don't have to do it in one shot. Just make sure that however long you're up in that plank position, you feel it in your abs and your glutes. Take your time, break it up however much you need to. Go ahead and pause the video, plank it out. All right, guys, moment of truth. Let's get back into that isometric Romanian deadlift and see if we are better than when we started. Hopefully, these exercises have helped you to help increase your midline strength so your lower back isn't picking up all that slack. Guys, in order for this to be a long-term solution, you're gonna have to go through these exercises every day until your body can relearn how it's supposed to hold itself throughout just normal activities, hanging out, picking up the kids, doing laundry, chores around the house, whatever. Guys, thank you so much for going through this video. We hope that it helped, and we hope that you have created some more back pain relief. If it did, please be sure to share it with a friend or a coworker or someone who needs a little bit of this in their life. And also be sure to subscribe to our channel. We're going to put out more content that's going to help you strengthen your joints and your muscles so that you can live a more pain-free life. We'll see you on the next one.